are going to begin with our first career rotation, which features the ag accountant for Maple Bottom Farm. Angie Pecora is with Million Dollar Accounting LLC, and she helps Vicki with all of her basic accounting needs, as well as she does payroll and is an extra set of eyes on the finances on the farm. So I believe, Angie, are you there with us?
Yes, Heidi, I'm here. Good morning.
Good morning. Welcome. We're glad to see you. So I'm going to just give you an opportunity to tell us what you do at Maple Bottom Farm.
So specifically for Maple Bottom Farm, I do offer them payroll services, and that is a full plate of payroll services. So every couple weeks they send me their payroll hours and assess their payroll checks for their employees, make sure all their payroll taxes and filings are done timely and on time, and then obviously process their year-end W-2s for those employees as well. I also provide tax consulting, tax planning, and tax preparation services. So as we all know, we all have to file a tax return. And so this, being on a farm is no different than any other operation or business. So we do file those filings as well. Part of that is reviewing the records. Now here at Maple Bottom Farm, Vicki and Mike do their own, what I'll call in-house record keeping. So they pay their bills, they get deposits, and they use QuickBooks to track that on a daily basis. I'm a second set of eyes that I do review that periodically, making sure things are in the right categories, things make sense, appear reasonable, and just kind of give an overview of their operation as well. That does lead into tax planning. So obviously no one likes to pay more taxes than they have to, and there's opportunities to leverage and minimize your tax liability through that process as well. In addition to what I provide to Maple Bottom Farm, I also, for other operations, do record keeping services in-house. So so Vicki goes ahead and does that herself for her operation in QuickBooks. But oftentimes I am that person who is putting it into a software program and providing financial statements to the customer as well. I'm also really just a trusted advisor. So oftentimes operations need lending or finances from a bank. They're going to need a balance sheet. They're going to need a profit and loss statement. And those things I often help with making a budget. Obviously, the ag industry is very volatile. So it goes up and down. And with that, the finances kind of go with it as well. So that's really a brief overview of what I do for Maple Bottom Farm themselves, and then in my capacity as an accountant for the ag industry as well.
Great. If any of you watching live have any specific questions for Angie, I have a few here that I'm going to ask her, but while we have Angie with us, if you want to chat any of those questions, go ahead and do that. Angie, one question I had for you is, what are some key skills that you need to be an ag accountant?
Well, it helps to have an ag background and to have an understanding of the ag. I'm an expert in no specific field of ag. Obviously, there is many branches and many different types of agriculture. But having a background does help. So I was born and raised on a dairy farm myself in Westmoreland County. 20 years ago, I would have told you that I was going to milk cows for a living. So that obviously career path has changed. But it helps to have, I always say you can train for the skills of accounting and tax and record keeping, but it's hard to train ag, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. So you're saying you don't necessarily need to grow up in the dairy industry to have your job as an ag accountant, but it definitely helps.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, there are many ag accountants that don't have an ag background, so it's not a requirement. It's just a little extra bonus that does help you along the way. You're able to relate to that farmer or that operation a little bit easier.
Absolutely. And speak the language and have a better understanding. Cool.
Correct.
What is your favorite part of being an ag accountant?
That's a tough one. It's two-pronged in my opinion. I'm an accountant by trade, so the numbers have to match, things have to equal, things have to make sense. And then the second, so that excites me as an accountant. And then the other part is helping the customer. So farmers are great in the field. They're great with their animals. They're great at their business. So oftentimes the finances is not the fun part of their business. And so because that is my sweet spot, I enjoy helping them understand that, help them make sense of it, and then add that as a value added service to their operation.
That's great. They absolutely need that business side of the things. And so it's good to have a good accountant who understands what's going on and understands their business. Are there certain programs or equipment that you work with as an ag accountant?
So I typically, yes and no. I typically have 3 different types of software or programs, I'll call it. One is your basic manual program where people still like to just use the check register and a manual record book to categorize their income and expenses. I use a software called Centerpoint Accounting for Agriculture. It is an ag specific software, so it does what I call speak the ag language when it comes to categorizing those incomes and expenses. It does a little bit better at tracking inventory if you're wanting to do that. And if you have more than one enterprise on your farm, it does really well at enterprise accounting. The most common is probably QuickBooks. It is a very user-friendly, easy, simple software to use. It's very convenient back and forth between accountant and the client. So either one of those options, I would say, I deal with all 3 on a daily basis.
Okay. And is ag accounting a job that you work year-round?
Yes, absolutely. So most of the time, obviously, I'm a tax accountant, so tax season typically, minus 2020, is January through April. There are a time period for extensions. So actually this time period is like a miniature tax season because individuals have until October to file their extended tax returns. So these 2 weeks of October, for those who have waited to the last minute, ends up being like a little tax season. But throughout the year, you're doing the record keeping and the payrolls and a lot of the tax consulting. So you're preparing for that tax season. You're doing tax planning, which usually happens starting September, October, November, December timeframe, depending on each operation and when income fluctuates and whatnot. So it does what I'll call slack a little bit, probably in the summertime, not in 2020 because the government extended the deadline to July. So it's been, quite frankly, it's felt like tax season all year long. But yeah, so there are other things besides just tax return preparation in the accounting field that keeps you busy all year long.
Okay, but certain seasons of the year, you're definitely busier than other times of the year.
Most definitely. If I had to categorize it, the beginning of the year is busiest, and then the end of the year. So the first quarter and the fourth quarter is probably the busiest.
Okay. What kind of schooling or training did you have to take to have this job?
So I went to school with a major in accounting. So I did graduate with an accounting degree in accounting. I attempted to take the CPA exam, I will shamelessly admit, 10 times and did not pass that. But the IRS offers a certification called Enrolled Agent. So it is also a test and exam, a three-part exam that you're able to take, and basically your certification is through the IRS instead of the State Board of Accountancy, which is the CPA exam. So those two, with my accounting degree and the EA certification, I'm able to basically do everything that a certified public accountant can do, with the exception of auditing. I cannot issue an opinion audit financial statement. It has to be done by a licensed CPA, but otherwise we are the same.
Okay. I had 2 questions come in here from our live viewers. Sure. One is, how long have you worked with Maple Bottom Farm?
Oh, geez. 17, almost 3 years, I believe, is where we're at. Time escapes me. It might be longer, but I think 3 years.
Okay. That's great. And do you ever get to be involved with the cows as the accountant of the farm, or are you just mainly looking at the finances and the books and the records?
For the most part, it's really just the finances, but Vicki put me to work this morning because she had some trouble. So I helped her, let out some cows this morning. So I do try to I was going to say, I do try to get involved because that helps you understand their operation. And even though you're just looking at the numbers, when you look at the numbers and understand the background of the operation, it makes it a little bit easier.
Very good. Well, we really appreciate you joining us today. If anyone joining live has any other questions for Angie, please submit those. We'll try to get to them, but thanks a lot for joining us. Is there anything else you wanted to tell our viewers today, Angie, you want them to know about ag accounting?
I think the only thing that I would leave you with is always keep your doors open. I started out in my career not as an ag accountant, so I did work for a CPA firm in the city of Pittsburgh, and then I moved on to work at a university, which are in no way connected to agriculture, probably for the first 12 years of my career, and through a connection that I had in the 4-H program, that led to working for a farm organization, in their tax and records and accounting program. So that was like my dream sweet spot, because it was being able to do what I enjoy and what I'm good at, but get back to my roots as in agriculture. So if you would have told me when I graduated college that I was going to be an ag accountant, I probably would have laughed at you. But so it is possible, and there are opportunities to start out as an ag accountant. That was not my career path. But definitely an opportunity for anyone, any high school student who's looking to do that.
Very good. Well, I think that's great advice. Thanks for all you do at Maple Bottom Farm.